Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be covering Chapter 3. It's going to be over carbohydrates for nutrition for your online course. And for the learning objectives, we're going to be going over describe basic sugars, sweeteners, and importance of meeting the dietary recommendation for added sugars. Compare and contrast starch, fibers, including food sources, recommendations, and health benefits. Right, and then in the introduction, which is actually very interesting to know, is that about half of the calories you eat every day comes from carbohydrates. Right, sugar contains fiber contains sugar. It's natural sugar. Foods, and a lot of that sugar comes from fruits that are natural, which is from the sweeteners itself. Right, we find that in all carbohydrates, all food groups except, which is really interesting, except uh, meat, poultry, and seafood. Meat, seafood, and poultry contains protein, not sugars. But there is fat in there, so you also have to be careful about that. But there at least is no protein. So make sure you look over that. Make sure you look over the meaning of carbohydrates and sugars, glucose, and the blood sugar level, because a lot of that deals with your blood sugar, deals with the diabetes, because that is prevalent in society today. Also, you need to know what the the functions of fructose and sucrose is. All right, and then you need to go to page 69. Page 69 covers the low or no calorie sweeteners. It covers a lot about artificial sweeteners. A lot of it has to deal with Splenda, Equal, Sunset, and Sweet and Low. A lot of these are, like it's stated, as alternative sweeteners to the sugar. And you need to go more into depth. It's what is sugar substitutes, and you'll read that on the bottom, on the side of the page, on page 69. On page 70, on page on page 70, look at table 3.1. There's a lot of sweeteners on that table where it has food, and when you look at it, let's look at the coconut palm oil per teaspoon. It is 16 calories per teaspoon. And look at the description. It is made from the sap of the coconut palm that has been boiled and dehydrated. So make sure you look over this whole table. It is really, really interesting. It gives you a lot of great information that is imperative that you know, because carbohydrates really, really will shoot up your blood sugar. All right. And then we go to the next section, which is a dietary recommendation for sugar. Sugar itself is not hazard unless you eat a lot of it, right? And a lot of added sugar sweeteners are into, let's say, chips, cookies, chocolate, things of that nature. A lot of the stuff that is snacks. Okay, so things with natural sugars, which is all your fruits and vegetables. So that's, as long as you eat those in moderation, you don't eat those with the ones with a lot of sugar, you'll be fine. But the ones with the added sugars, which is like a lot of the cereals and like I stated before, the chips and the cookies, the brownies, and things of that nature, and you will see that in the fruit drinks, in the drinks itself, because the sodas contain so much sugar, right? Sports drinks. So make sure you go over that as well. Um, and then we'll go to starches and vegetables. Okay, a lot of the starches has to do with with the pastas and grains. Uh, Grains are good for us, but also we have to eat those within moderation. And fiber is also really good for us because it helps with our digestive system. And you need to read more to the fiber, because it's stated here on page 75. It says fiber is it is a plant, so it covers to where it is legumes, it is dry beans, peas, and lentils. Okay, and you can have as much fiber as you can get from different food groups. Scientists like to separate fibers into two groups, soluble and insoluble fibers. Each of these types of fibers is important because they can affect your health. So make sure you look over what is soluble and insoluble fibers on page 76. And the DRI, which the DRI is the dietary recommendation of how much fiber it is that you're supposed to get. So it states that it's 14 grams of fiber for every 1,000 calories you eat. Therefore, you should eat 28 grams for a 2,000 calorie diet. So 14 if you're on 1,000 calorie, but 28 grams for a 2,000 calorie diet. So keep that in mind as well. Okay, and make sure that you look at that. Now, whole grains on page 78. Whole grains, we go into, there's 3 parts to a grain. You have the bran, the endosperm, and the germ. So you need to know what each one of those, the functions of each one of them, they do. The endosperm, the germ, and the bran. It's very important that you know that. Make sure you skip over to the next page, to page 80, and find out what about refined sugars. Okay, you need to find out what is a whole grain, what is a refined grain. This is what this chapter has to deal with a lot about. And also, when we go to page 82, we're going to go over into the carbohydrates in the body and choices of healthy carbohydrates. All right, carbohydrates are important because they are part of the various materials found in the body, such as connective tissues, some hormones and enzymes, and genetic materials. But most important, it is a function. It is to provide energy for your body. Carbohydrates provide about half of the energy you need every day. So it's really just half a day. So you just don't need an abundance of carbohydrates because your body can only dispense so much of it. Okay. Make sure when you go over to page 83, and it talks about insulin. It talks about the diabetes, what we had just previously went over. If you look on page 85, it talks about whole grains, and I highlighted this in my book because it says high in fiber that makes you feel full after eating and reduces your risk of heart disease, obesity, and type 2 diabetes. So anything that's usually whole grains, high in fiber, will make you feel fuller. Okay, and it helps with dealing with obesity and type 2 diabetes as well. And if you look at the bottom of the page, on the bottom of the page, and then in the figure 3.4, it shows you what type of whole grains what you're able to eat. But also, when you do that, you want to look at what you're also adding to your whole grains of what you're going to be cooking as well. So be careful what you add to it. And you can go deeper into the chapter, and it talks about chef's tips preparing legumes, about menus, and so you make sure you look over that. Hopefully that these videos are helping you. If you have any questions, please make sure to get a hold of me. I think a lot of students have done that. Hopefully these videos are helping. Contact me. This is chapter 3. Then we are covering over the carbohydrates. Please get ready we're probably going to have a quiz very soon. Make sure you look on your syllabus so we can all stay intact. And I apologize for if there's any misconfusion on the syllabus, and I will make sure I go over that as well. So thank you so much. Y'all have another great week, and let's see what else we can learn and we can learn together. So thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.